Let's take the giant.
Nice.
We could cast this. Hey everybody, welcome back and thanks for taking the time to watch Hello Good Game. Today we're playing with Bant Control, an archetype not seen in quite some time. Typically, we'll run a lot of field wipes to control within Bant colors, but because the current meta is so aggressive and so quick, they're almost not enough to keep up, and we have to go an entirely different direction and ride the value train to outpacing our opponents, flooding the field so they don't even get to attack, having life gain on tap, draw on tap, and the ability, again, to play many creatures to flood the field. So that is the main objective within this Bant control deck, is to just flood the field with value. You'll see we're not running Yorion as a companion, and we only have one copy of Yorion in our main board, which is quite rare, especially for a form of control incorporating white and blue within it, which Bant does. So, why is there only one copy of Yorion in this deck? Well, this deck is filled with tools. It is a tool trunk that will lead you to victory. We have the ability and multiple abilities to search our library for specific cards at instant speed, sorcery speed, wherever it happens to land. And that's why there's a lot of single copies, is because when you're pulling a card directly from your library, you don't have to rely on drawing it. You don't need to run 4 copies for consistency's sake. You can run 4 copies of the cards that will help you pull that card, right? And then not only are you able to pull that card when you need it, but you can pull, a different card in a different situation if you need it. So, that's the typical idea of the deck. There are so many synergies within this list that I'm still discovering them. So we're going to do our best to break them all down for you guys, as well as the deck list, talking about, why these cards were chosen to be included within the list, their strengths, their weaknesses, so you can play to the utmost efficiency with them. Let's get into the deck list right away. We'll just run through it. We've got 4 copies of Prince Charming, a 2/2, and when it enters the battlefield, we get to choose one. Either scrying 2, gaining 3 life, or exiling another creature that we own and control, bringing it back into play at the beginning of our next end step. So this is great because some of our creatures do have ETB effects, which is nice. Prince of Charming being one of those creatures. And, if we do get a Yorion in later on, we can bounce that, which we can bounce our whole field with, which is pretty cool. But where this card really shines for me is the fact that A itself has an ETB effect, so we can bounce it to re-trigger it. And then, gaining 3 life is great. Like I mentioned, as a control deck, our biggest, obstacle is the aggro archetype coming at us before we can establish our field state of control. And the Prince Charming is going to help mitigate that. Not only can it scry 2 help us find land, but the gaining of 3 life is a great ability to offset some of the damage that the aggro players will try to utilize. Fiend Artisan. Now this is one of the cards that I mentioned can pull other creatures from your library. It gets +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard. This is great against rogues because they're going to be milling you. Fiend Artisan is going to be getting stronger. And then we can also pay 1 plus X, tapping the Artisan to sacrifice another creature we control, which is the only downside here. Searching our library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less than that, and putting it into the battlefield, shuffling our library, activating it only anytime we could cast a sorcery, which is something that you're going to want to remember. Sorcery speed, searching of your library. Because it's a tap ability, you may think that you can do it at instant speed. Unfortunately, that's not the case here, so you do want to make sure that you're tapping the Fiend Artisan to pull something from your library on sorcery speed via your turn. Into our 3-drops, more ETB effects within Llanowar Visionary. A 2/2 when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Gaining life, scrying, drawing cards, even bouncing of our own creatures, which typically you probably won't do unless if you have a bounce, you would just use it on the, the actual target instead of bouncing one thing to bounce the other. Unless you're wanting something out of play on your opponent's turn, right? So now that is a strategy that will come full circle to before we wrap up, but that's a little more in depth for now. And then the Llanowar Visionary is not only a 2/2 that draws us a card when it enters, but it can also tap for mana, allowing us to play some of those bigger spells a little bit earlier on. 3 copies of the Glasspool Mimic and the Glasspool Shore. Obviously the Shore comes in tapped. That's great if you don't have the land off the start, but where this card really shines is the fact that it can come down and copy any other creature we have in play. So it's like you just have 3 wild cards within your deck, and this is really good, especially within that utility-based deck that we're talking about. Speaking of things that we might want to copy, another ETB effect within the Skyclave Apparition. When it enters, exile target permanent and opponent controls with converted mana cost 4 or less until the apparition leaves the battlefield, at which point the owner of that card will get a token, an XX of whatever that mana cost was, right? So if it's a 3/3, they're going to get a 3/3. Or if it is a 3 CMC, they'll get a 3/3. So this is great because most cards will cost, like, let's look at Llanowar Visionary, for example, and this is even a bad example. It's a 3-drop for a 2/2. We can take the ability away, and that's the key component, or the Fiend Artisan, for example, because to give our opponent a 3/3, a 2/2, that's not that big of a deal. What is really good here is when we're stripping that 2/2, that 3/3 of its abilities, right? So it doesn't have the ETB effect to be bounced. It doesn't have the tap to do every turn shenanigans, right? So even a Questing Beast is a 4/4. They'll get it back as a 4/4. That might not seem like very good value because, they'll just kill the apparition. They'll get a 4/4 back. What was the point? Well, the point was removing Vigilance, Death Touch, haste, and can't be blocked by 2 or less. Combat damage can't be prevented. That is the big deal with Skyclave Apparition. So don't worry that they're going to get something back. Just worry about stripping their creatures of the abilities, and you're always going to come out ahead. So we've got a lot of ETB effects within the deck. Prince Charming can bounce creatures we control. Thassa, Deep Dwelling, every single end step bounces a creature that we control. So that's absolutely amazing. We can be bouncing the apparitions, which will give them an XX, but no creature with an ability. You can just take out all their permanents. All they have is these 4 and less creatures. And then all we have to do is put out something bigger than that, and they can't do anything, right? So, Thassa can bounce the apparition to remove basically their whole field. It can bounce the Visionary to keep you drawing more cards. It can bounce the Prince for life gain and the Scry, which is pretty cool. And then we can also pay to tap another target creature if our opponent does have some aggro on us. Put a stop on their second main phase. Before they go to their attackers, you'll be able to tap their creatures, and then they won't be able to attack, which is great. Moving on, we've got 1 copy of Master of Wind, a 1/4 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. So, that's a pretty good ETB effect as far as I'm concerned. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may switch its power and toughness from 4/1 to 1/4, and on and go, my friend. 2 copies of Yasharn, Implacable Earth, a 4/4. When it enters battlefield, search for a forest and a plains from your library, then shuffle it up, and players can't pay life or sacrifice permanents to cast or activate abilities. Notably in Standard, this will shut down Woestrider. It will also stop the targeting of Terror of the Peaks, but that's basically all we're worried about right now. Village Rites, I guess, is another card that we can see in Standard being played that this could shut down. Moving on, the ETB effect for the land is still really good here, though. And Yorion the Sky Nomad, I'm sure you guys all know of this, a 4/5 with flying. When it enters, you get to bounce any number of target permanents you own and control. They enter at the beginning of the next end step. The whole deck is ETBs, so there should be a lot of value here within Yorion. And we talked about the Fiend Artisan. We can pull Yorion out of the deck at will with the Fiend Artisan, by paying 6, sacrificing a creature, boom, bouncing everything, we're in business. And I'm sure you'll get more value than 6 mana and a lost creature with a Yorion bounce, or at least you should. If not, don't play it. Moving on, we've got 2 copies of Vivien, Monsters Advocate, 3 loyalty, allowing us to look at the top card of our library, playing creatures from the top of our library, which is awesome. We've got an ETB creature-based deck. +1, create a 3/3 with either Reach, Vigilance, Trample, always go Reach unless you know you don't need it. Reach is the most defensive ability you can take. If not, take Vigilance, and then you're kind of on both sides of the fence. But if you know that there's nothing hindering you and you want to just go, I suggest Trample for the aggressive stance on Vivien. 3 copies of Elder Gargaroth. Now this card ties the whole deck together. There's no ETB effect here, but it holds so much value. A 6/6, so shutting the aggro decks down almost entirely. Vigilance, Reach, Trample, so it can defend and attack, which is great because whenever it does so, it can create a 3/3, gain 3 life, or draw a card. Oh my gosh, this is a jack of all trades, and within this deck can really carry the weight of the match. Another broken card similar to Yorion Sky Nomad, in which we only have 1 copy of, is Ashaya Soul of the Wild for 5. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands we control. Non-creature tokens you control are forests in addition to their other types. So, you know, obviously all of our creatures now turn into forests, which will increase the power of Soul of the Wilds. And more importantly, turning all of those creatures into land will allow us to cast some very expensive spells, such as Sublime Epiphany for 6 at instant speed. Choose 1 or more, so we can choose all of these if we want. Counter target spell, counter target activated or triggered ability, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, create a token that's a copy of a creature you control that has an ETB effect, target player draws a card. Woof. That is the equivalent of Casualties of War, but on the right side, fighting for good. We've got a couple copies of Emeria's Call and the Shattered Skyclave. You know, for 7, create 2/4/4 angels with flying, and all of our other creatures gain indestructible until our next turn. That allows us to swing in without consequence because we have indestructible. It also allows us to block without consequence if we don't want to, you know, overextend ourselves. You may want to make sure that you keep 1 or 2 extra blockers back in case your opponent is really in that situation to kill you. If you've got 40 life, screw it, go for it. But make sure you don't overextend. And of course, it comes in tapped unless you pay 3 life as a plains. We have the same within the Serpentine Wood, coming in tapped unless we pay 3 life, adding a green to our pool. And then for 7 as well, the Symbiosis, looking at the top 7 cards of our library, we get to pull a creature card with converted, or from among them. If its mana was 3 or less, then we put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. And then the rest go on the bottom of our library in random order. So again, we're basically just grabbing a creature with an ETB effect for, you know, 7, which is a little expensive, but you do get to look at the top 7 as well. So late game, this is 1,000 times better than the land. Moving on, 1 single copy of the Great Henge. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the best card in Standard right now. Legendary artifact for 9, X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So, you know, we've got Elder Gargaroth is a 6/6, Ashaya can be like a 15/15 sometimes, so we can reduce the cost of Henge quite a bit. Not as aggressively as you would off of a Lovestruck Beast, but it's still fine. And then the fact that we have a creature-based deck, this is good because whenever a creature of non-token origin enters the battlefield under our control, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and we get to draw a card, which is great. And that cycle can kind of just perpetuate itself within creature-based decks. And of course, we can also tap it to add 2 green to our pool, also gaining 2 life. So a little bit of more sustainability there against the aggro decks. Bringing up our land, we have a single Castle Ardenvale, tapping it for 5, creating a 1/1 token, decent for the chump blocks. We also have 5 plains, 3 islands, 5 forests, a single Temple of Enlightenment, a Temple of Plenty, 2 Temple of Mysteries, 3 Fabled Passages. Moving into our sideboard, we do have 3 Chainweb Arachners. This is great against Dimir Rogues. 1/2 with Reach. When it enters battlefield, deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying your opponent controls. Escape for 5 + 4 other cards from your graveyard. And then it comes in with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Again, it has an ETB effect, and when it escapes, the ETB effect re-triggers as it's the stronger variant. So that's absolutely amazing. 4 copies of Negate. I'm sorry, Cleave. I'm sorry, Henge. I'm sorry, Ugin. Counter any target non-creature spell. You know, any field wipe you're going to counter. Any general jazz that will interfere with your game plan. Should be instant or sorcery because you should dominate the creature state. And that will take care of that. 4 Scavenging Ooze. This deals with the graveyard. Great against Rogues. Great against Rakdos. As we seen the other day, great against the Gruda combo. The Ooze is so situational, but so powerful when it does work. A 2/2, pay 1, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature, +1/+1 goes on the Ooze, and you gain 1 life. 3 copies of Garrick's Harbinger, hexproof from black. That should be self-explanatory. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you get to draw or look at that many cards, taking a creature or Garrick card from among them into your hand. So it hits for 4, it gets to look at 4. That's really cool. And of course, we've got a Cragplate Baloth for 7, hexproof, haste, 6/6, kicker for 3, total of 10. Oh my lord. Can't be countered. Now that is the convenient part here. And if it was kicked, enters the battlefield with 4+1/+1 counters on it. So against those hard control matchups, maybe this is the card to carry you through. So that's the sideboard. We do our best to break down these sideboard plays as we make them within today's video. As far as your general strategy and synergy goes, get a Thassa out, right? That will really make all of your ETB effects that much more powerful. Right? Getting double entries of things basically every turn. Second up, get a Fiend Artisan up. This will allow you to pull, any card from your library basically. And then, it's just going to start to add that value again and again. Primarily, I like to stack my ETB effects and then Fiend Artisan for a Yorion, double everything down, and then just kind of win the game from there if we can, right? It goes on and on. That is my favorite play. Of course, the Master of Winds is a good grab for Fiend Artisan if you're looking for a draw. Yorion, if you already have lots of ETB effects out. Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, if you're looking to ramp up in mana. And then, that is it, I believe. If I'm looking for removal, even though there's 4 of them, I'll draw the Skyclave Apparition just to try to shut down the field as much as I can. And, that should be some general strategy for you guys. You can try to hold up 6 mana once you get there. The blue land is tricky to hit with only 3, so do try to take a passage as a blue source if you can. If not, you'll get there eventually. And that's the joy of a control deck. You're not really in that big of a rush. You'll get there. Most of your matches go 10 rounds anyways, and these toolbox decks become such a joy to master. Your first couple games is kind of awkward. You're learning everything. What's good against what? When do I do, what, right? But once you've got this deck mastered, it's going to be absolutely amazing. We've seen something similar within Vivien's Arcbow once upon a time. And the ability to just pull out cards from your library into the field is a very powerful effect. And typically a deck revolves around draw for consistency, scry for consistency. But when you're doing this, there is no point. So it's not only the Fiend Artisan that can pull from our library, but Vivien's -2 as well. You just do have to cast a powerful creature afterwards, which shouldn't be too hard considering the Gargaroths and Ashayas. So with that all out of the way, you guys, have fun smashing people with bant control. I'm playing today within Mythic rank. We've got some amazing gameplay footage. If you do find any value or entertainment, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share the channel to a friend, subscribe for more. And if you want, you can support me on Twitch, Patreon, YouTube, and our Amazon link. Just by buying things through Amazon, we get 3%. If you're unfamiliar, we've had a few questions about that. And we do have exclusive content for our YouTube members. So if you're looking for even more goodies, get in on that. And we do deck doctors, deck give, just like so much so I can't even, right? Again, thank you all for your time and attention. Enjoy today's gameplay footage. We'll talk to you soon with my wrap-up thoughts. A little bit late to the recording. We keep our opening hand, and we want to play our Visionary on pace. So we come in tapped here. All right, so we definitely want this second planes for the apparition. It can be scryed for, maybe. Right, that's our best bet here. I mean, bouncing things is great as well, but when we are looking for a specific land type, it's best to, find it at an increased rate. An expedited rate? Who knows? Well, I mean, I guess both work, doesn't matter. Getting smashed powers 2 or less. This is our land that we wanted. So let's ramp. Next turn we can take whatever we want. So the great thing about taking stuff like the Brushfire Elemental, literally anything with a keyword ability on it, is the fact that you get that permanent, and then if they take the apparition away, you know, they get an XX, the permanent doesn't have those abilities anymore. And that's great. So we're going to take the Ooze here, because, you know, it's a 2/2 that goes up, gets stronger. And when we... Or do we? Let's save El Removo. We got lots of life. We can risk it for the biscuit. You know, they could have the Eagle. Or not the Eagle, the Phoenix. What the hell is it called? 3-drop, 2/2, Flying Haste. Why has that escaped me? Well, this hurts. We get the Ooze in a different way. What's that Phoenix's name? Phoenix of Ash, thank you. I was about to have, like, a meltdown. Alright, plussing, again, you know, potentially Phoenix time. We get our 3/3 back when we snag this. It does self-kill, so, you know, it's not the greatest thing to take, but at the end of the day. Don't touch my shit! And let's go real wide, because Girl's probably not got a field wipe, because they run a lot of creatures, right? Alright, we're gonna have to block one of these babies, but I think it could be a cleave, so we double block. And I think they still kill it, because it goes to 4. It's for 8 total, we only block for 6. And then the other 2 still go through. That could be a bad play on us. But now they need to be hitting something with haste for a cost of 2 or less. Fiend Artisan is live at this point, so we can take a look at our Magic the Gathering Arena Assistant here on the left-hand side of your screen, and you'll see that the deck has a lot of one-ofs. And these one-ofs become quite powerful. We can Fiend Artisan instant speed, and we have 2 mana, so we're taking something worth 1, which we don't have a damn thing. I'm not going to block their attack. They need to keep back and block our attack, because we're going to be forced to attack. I can start bouncing the Visionary if we can pull a single blue source, which I find a little bit awkward that we haven't got there yet. Let's take the life gain. Ask and ye shall receive. So this is awkward, but I think we still just want to go for it. And that will leave us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. 6 with the Visionary. So we can grab something worth 5. And when we go to our Bizord, as far as 5 drops go, the Elder Gargaroth is where we want to send our time and attention. So that's a green source. Or, actually, we do that instant speed on their attack, right? Oh, no, we can't now. Oh, I meant to press Z, not next. God damn it. My apologies, religious folk. And now we've tapped now, so we actually had to do it earlier. They're being greedy, they want the 4/4. They actually get 2 creatures back though, which is like really good. Whoops. We still bounce the Visionary, and the Fiend Artisan lives. Maya's on her wheel making a racket. I'm sorry about that. 2 lands is absolutely lovely. Their own Great Henge, that's pretty cool, right? And then we get hit for just more damage than I'm comfortably admitting. So for 10 here, we lost our Artisan. We basically threw that game, but I'm comfortable that we can, you know, make something work here. Let's take our attack. I mean, we're dead next turn, but we can just start tapping their blocker. We can also bounce this to their hand so it doesn't exist. It's already their turn, so we went to our end. Putting a stop in before their attack phase. I think we maybe lost the tap last turn. And we don't have the double blue here for our Sublime Epiphany. Or else that would have been really nice. We're gonna have to work for this a little bit. We got screwed on land and then, you know, making little misplays. This is one of our first matches. So, again, learning the deck as we go. And we're gonna try to get a bunch of matches in for you guys today. So we're gonna tap this thing. This is a 5-drop, so we're not taking that. Let's see if we can get a second blue source. Kind of. We can make everything forest, which is not really helpful. This Lovestruck Beast will never really be able to attack. And we can't get anything else that we want, really. And we have 7 land. This costs 4. This is also a nice blocker. We need that blue land out eventually. Yasharn, I don't know what he does right now. Nothing. And, sucks, but yeah. No attacks. End our turn. Balance 1, and let's just hopefully try to get some value here. They've got a henge, so if they top deck a creature, it's bad, and you know, Vivien's really gonna help that whole narrative along. We set our stop for their attack phase so we can tap their creatures. We can only tap 2 of them. The 5/5 and the 3/3. The Lovestruck Beast can't attack unless they can get a token in play. A 1/1 token from something. But we're going to be able to see that before we have to tap.
Every day is a new mutation.
Okay. So tap this. Oh, and this actually requires a blue source. So that's a bummer, because now the 4/4 and the 3/3 can come in. Let's take it. That's so shitty. Big hit. The cleave is always gonna suck. Castle Ardenvale, I think, is a good play. Yeah, I want to draw on the henge, but
Elemental cat dinosaurs? I love Ikoria.
we should have minused on Vivien. Oops. Another mistake there. We could have minused on Vivien, then played Gargaroth into, you know, whatever we wanted. Oh well.
I love making new friends.
Let's just Gargaroth out. Go crazy about it, right? Balance of Visionary. Well, we needed some life gain. I guess the Gargaroths can provide that. A pretty thick hand here. Get rid of the Temple of... Well, I guess that's maybe good at some point. Let's get rid of these two forests. At least trying to recover the match, sharpen our sword, so to speak, right? Like, even when things are rough and hard, try your best. You know, don't run away when you make a misplay. Keep at it, try to improve, and, you know, it's going to be that effort and difficulty that really makes you a better player. So this henge is dealing, like, a lot of damage to us, because we've seen they were choked on cards. Now they're ready to rip. So that was all provided to them by the henge, and you know, Vivien helped that along as well. So we definitely want to be countering that henge. The nice thing is, you know, we can gain 6 life, and we should at least be able to kill a bunch of their creatures. A few of them. Has 6/6 not attacking. The giant, the mammoth aren't attacking, so there's a 4/4, 2 3/3s, 3 3/3s, and a 4/4. It's awkward. I don't even want to look at the math. Like, it's kind of making me feel nauseous inside. Just like, ugh. Okay, so it goes to the elemental. Really? It's got to be the 2 Gargaroths, I'm most positive. Let's go wide. Take the mammoth. We have one more apparition I think I want to grab.
herd grows ever larger. Things are about to get out of hand for you.
Let's take the giant. We could cast this. Goodness gracious. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's good to have you. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this out to a friend, because that was some hot shit. I thought we were done that entire time. I was just like, you know what? I went off on that big speech as well. I was like, you know what? Things go back poorly. Grind it out. Do your best anyways. And now we see why. I don't even know what deck we're playing against. Gruel, and it was this Henge. So the Harbinger does nothing. Hexproof and Haste does nothing. The Negate. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I hate Gruel. And that. Right? Brand new breaks, baby. We never touch them. A minute left, and we need to drop 3 cards. Whew, it's a hard call. It's a hard call. 1 Epiphany. It's pretty late game against this really strong, quick deck. Yeah. Right? I think the Epiphany is good, but the Negate does the same thing, and it's much earlier and cheaper, right? If this is an aggro match, we need to be quick. I can't believe we got the win there. Well, there's 1 lands. We have the Visionaries, but they're going to get stomped, right? The Visionary did work last match, so we know that that's not going to happen. And where's the blue land? Having a Yorion's nice, and having 2 Visionaries is nice too. I'm keeping it because Prince Charming is in hand, and typically this is something we put in later to get the bounce going, but as a 2-drop, it's really good for that scry, right? Scry 2, look for your 3rd land. I'm okay with that. Let me know in the comments below if I'm making ignorant decisions, but I think that, you know, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, we have the Negate, which we want, and if we can build up value and drop a Yorion, if we can survive this long. All right, looking for, you know, we need a blue source, but I want that second white source as well. It's gonna come in tapped. We can other Prince and play that 3rd land first, maybe. But if we Prince the 3rd land in untap, doesn't matter. So we're still really worried about stomps on the apparitions, but if we're taking out a Mammoth, that every turn's a 5/5 or a 7/7, that's good. Chump blocking with the princes. It's not good. Muted myself because the cat's been going crazy on the wheel. And then I was trying to get a webcam going, but apparently it doesn't want to register itself. So. Unless there's a camera looking at me that I don't know where. I hate this. They got their Vivien as well and a Henge. It's just like not ever gonna work, I don't think. How hard is it to get a blue source within this deck? Absolutely ridiculous. What we could use is a field wipe. You know what I mean? Oh! Certain times you can come back in matches, other times you will not. Straight up, we cannot get to that Epiphany before they're dropping the Henge. It's just, it can't be done. I think our sideboard plays were spot on, but... Woof! You know, they could get a bad draw hand. And we're gonna get a really good draw hand. All 3 colors of land. We just sit in our negate and try to counter their Henge that they start blasting us with creatures. That won't work. Yep. Let's try our best, right? Let's not give up too easily. It's one thing to throw one of the matches. You can't throw 2 of them, though. It doesn't work that way. Okay, we definitely need that plains. What? Where are our planes at? Every other game we get 30 of them. Oh, nice. Early game draw engine. We lose our dearest, which sucks. But that's not gonna hit and perfect. Taking their draw engine. We want to use the Mimic before the next 2. If we can keep the field clear of creatures, that will really help. Oh! Rose, we're just gonna be dead. I can't even. We need the chump blocker, I guess. Dang! Woo! After that first game, too, we did so good. They just double stomp us. It was a good game. Stomp. Oh, Vivien. There's no way we come back from this. It's impossible. cry. That first match was deadly, at least.
Diversity is our greatest strength.
We can't block the questing beast anyway, so it's just like, get some, son. And after that first match, there's no wonder they were coming at us with so much vengeance. Alright, so we kind of blew it, but that first match was great, right? Match 1 of 3. Match 2, we just got beat down. And match 3, I think, you know, kind of got out-wrestled. A good deck. I think it probably doesn't need much fine-tuning. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You know, the Ashaya into the Symbiosis or the Call is incredible. I think, if anything, we just had a little trouble with land in our matches, and unfortunately, when a video goes an hour in length in one match, I don't really get the benefit, or the luxury, I should say, of playing, you know, 5-10 matches to really dig into the actual win rate of the deck. But I have no doubt that this is a very strong deck that can compete within the top ranks in Magic the Gathering Arena. Thanks again for your time and attention. Maya's getting revved up. Upset that I'm still on the computer for the day, so I'm going to go play with her for a little bit. Thank you again for all of your time and attention. Make sure to have a magical day. Thanks for watching here on YouTube, and free cash prize tournaments every month, 500k gem giveaway, and so much more awaiting you in our Discord. So we'll see you then. Take care, and you know, make sure to watch another video.